What's up, guys? Hashtag TGIF. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for coming back and thanks for the new followers. If you are new to this channel, basically in this channel, all we're doing is looking at our brain frequencies and cellular frequencies. We don't talk about too much of a jargon. We keep it very simple, but we use it in a way that will help us and enable us in the future to not only expand our consciousness, but also become happier and more successful in our lives. Let's talk about one of my favorite topic and the fact that we can really use our frequencies to become smarter than we are, and basically outsmarting both ourselves and the environment that we were brought up in. Everybody is vying for your attention. If you're on social media, every single account, every single channel, they are doing something to grab your attention. The news media, they're doing it because they know that once they elicit specific type of emotions, we become more engaged, we become more excited, whether that it's a positive thing or a bad thing. And as a result, we subscribe to the channels or we just keep watching it. If it's within the family, the parents, the partner, the neighbors, friends, you name it, everybody basically is vying for your attention. You are doing the same thing. You're also vying for everybody else's attention. So there is a lot of exchange of energy and information on a daily basis in our lives. Now, every single time that we give our attention to something or somebody else, essentially we are choosing to gear our energy and frequency more towards that thing or that person. That is because a lot of communication not only happens at a sensory system level, which is the physical body level, but it also happens at a frequency level, which is the invisible body or invisible brain level. So at any moment in time, we choose who to give our frequencies to and whose frequency to receive. So for example, let's say that the news just comes out and I'm on my Twitter and there's one news here and there's one other news here. Whichever I pay attention to, that's where in other words, wherever I choose to pay attention to, that's where my frequencies go. And then the exchange of frequency and energy happens. So it's just an eagle-eye view for us to understand how is it that on a daily basis we exchange energy and we exchange frequency, because we choose to gear our attention towards something or someone at that very single moment. Now, if we are smart and we pay attention to those things that are constructive in the long run for us, not at that moment, then that exchange is beneficial. But if not, it could also have the other not so constructive ramifications. Once we keep doing that, let's say we do it enough of the times that we become used to, we create an inner habit to pay attention to one specific thing because it triggers a specific emotion that we are more used to and we feel more comfortable with. That becomes a habit, and then the cycle starts, because then we keep looking for the same type of information and the same type of attention that we're giving. For example, let's say that I am very hooked on hearing news about, I don't know, something that bad happened in my community. And if I keep doing it, then it just becomes like a habit where I always craving for that type of an information, and that craving for that type of an information will make me look for that information more and more on a daily basis. And because of that, I get more and more of that frequency towards me, because I am choosing to give my attention to that, let's say, destructive type of a news. And that type of a destructive news for me, in the long run, once I do it enough of a time, day after day, over and over again, will eventually then impact my frequencies and change them. And because of that, then I will choose certain behavior, I would choose to use certain words, I would choose certain people to be around with. So you see the ramification of it, that if we're not careful, we might totally alter the way our lives are moving just because of that one single little action that we did. So it's very important that on a daily basis we think about and we pay attention to what we're giving our attention to, because that's where you are investing your frequencies. Wherever you look, wherever you decide to give your ears towards, that is where you choose to exchange the energy and frequencies with, and that frequency will in turn impact and influence yours. And if we do that enough of a time, it becomes a habit, and then it becomes part of our lives. And then it will influence our future action, decisions, you name it, etc. So what I'm trying to say here is the very important fact how we are so freaking influential in our lives without even really knowing it and paying attention to it, because all we're seeing is outside. To illustrate, one of my favorite, absolutely favorite example is the example of the frog. If you've heard the story, fast forward, but if you have not, bear with me. So there's this like, I'm probably going to butcher the story, but I think you will get the gist of it. So there was a bunch of frogs. They decided to climb this mountain, and then it's like a very, very high and big mountain, and everybody's like, oh my God, no, you can't climb this mountain and whatnot. Anyways, there was a bunch of frogs that decided to climb anyways. But majority of them, they stayed at the bottom of the mountain, and they did not decide to climb. Instead, they started shouting to the people, to the frogs that were actually doing the climbing, and they kept saying, oh, you're fools, you'll never be able to climb that mountains, you're just a little frog, look at your tiny short legs and hands, there's no way that you can climb all the way to the top of the mountain. And one after one, these frogs fell down because they couldn't, it was just too high, except for one little frog. And at the end, he or she ended up going all the way to the top. And then everybody got really curious and went to ask him or her, it's like, how the heck did you do that? Everybody else fell down. And then they realized that that frog was deaf. He or she could not hear any of the comments that all these negative frogs at the bottom of the mountain were shouting at everybody else. And the whole point of the story was the fact that this little frog was able to achieve and get all the way to the top of the mountain because he or she had decided in their head that that's what they're gonna do, because they were deaf, because they could not hear what the environment was telling them or not telling them for that matter. And so that's the whole point. because this frog did not pay attention and did not invest their frequency towards the people who were saying stuff, positive or negative, doesn't matter, who were, watching instead of actually climbing. And I love that story because it taught me so much, and it's such a simple story that it kind of stayed. And it stayed with me because it was really conveying this very complex fact in a very simple manner, that when we stop investing our energies and frequencies towards things that should not really matter in what we have set for ourselves to do or to think or to be, then if we don't invest in that, then they lose their power. And we can sort of, in this case, defy the nature and do something. Now, I know it sounds like a cliche because a lot of people say it, but I have experienced it in my own life, because there was a time where everybody said in my surrounding that what I wanted to do was stupid, it could not be achieved, and it was just garbage. And the only reason they said it was garbage was because they were not at the same level of frequencies that I was. Not that there is anything wrong with that. There is no high or low. That's not what I'm saying. But we were just not vibing the same, if you want to use that slang. We were not at the same frequency because they were from a part of my life that had helped me build my current consciousness, or my at the time consciousness. And as a result, they could not see beyond the consciousness that they had helped me build in the first place. So how could I even expect them to step out of that consciousness and think bigger, think more expansive in their consciousness, like Einstein said, for example? So the way we can use all this to get ourselves, if you want to call it success, if you want to call it achievement, if you want to call it getting ahead, I call it outsmarting myself and outsmarting my environment. If we want to do that, then we have to really own up to our frequencies, and we have to make sure that we are responsible as to how we spend them, because every time we do that, we are spending the energy towards something that may or may not be aligned with us. So let's tie that all back into the title of this video, which is Outsmarting the Environment, or outsmarting myself, I should say, because on a daily basis, we are set to think in a specific way, which then in turn elicits, creates these specific sets of brain frequencies, and as a result, cellular frequencies. If I want to step out of it, I will be able to outsmart myself, because like Einstein said, the problem and the issues that were created at one level of consciousness cannot possibly be solved if we are still on the same level of consciousness. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but I think you know which quote I mean. And that's exactly what the frog did. What I meant to say was that that's exactly what this frog did in this story. The frog did what Einstein basically was saying, which is weird. But the level of outsmarting ourselves, and I say ourselves because I don't mean for it to mean that we are outsmarting others. At the end, we will. But outsmarting ourselves mean that within the environment that we are used to be in, it's one level of frequency exchange. one level of energy consumption, one level of energy creation. But once we step out of it, then it becomes at a whole other level. And then we'll be able to look at things in a way, very different way. And how to do it? Attend to your frequencies on a daily basis. Make sure that you use your 5 sensory system to feed the type of frequencies that you cherish, that you look up to, that you want to achieve. One of them, visual sensory system, auditory, tactile, smell, everything else, taste. All that, be mindful what you give your attention to and what you give your frequencies and energies to, because that's what we are doing on a daily basis. Because whether we like it or not, the environment is vying for our attention. But whom we give it to, what we give it to, it'll be our choice. That we can control. If you have any questions about details of this, let me know, because I keep it very an eagle eye view. I don't go too much into the sort of a frequency science of it, because I've noticed that when it's too long, people don't really want to listen. It's just too long. It's just too much. And I'm sure you're very busy in your life. And so, but let me know if there are any comments. And I hope this was helpful to you. If you try it out, you'll see. And you can also, as we've talked in the past, manipulate and control your frequencies. And you really, because of that, you can change your whole life, especially in 2020, because we need to be very careful what we feed ourselves with, what we feed our frequencies with. And otherwise, we're going to be lost and we're going to be losing a lot of time. Take care, guys.